think all of us have things that we're fascinated with, whether it's a design element like a balcony, or maybe a stylized element like cut glass. But I think everyone has some things in their life that gives them inspiration and also can give you some issues, maybe in working with your own spaces or designs. So today I'm taking you on a small tour of gates and doorways, which are some of my favorite things. And here in Tucson, there is an abundance of art and beautiful architecture and an amazing use of color. And there are mosaics and murals and history and beauty. So I want to show you some things that I hope will give you some inspiration to perhaps either freshen up a doorway or gate or maybe steer you in a brand new inspired direction. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at are a few gates. These are just a couple of gates in my neighborhood that I think are very beautiful, they're textural, they're interesting.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful.
Just because you're a business doesn't mean that your doorways and entryways can't be exciting, inviting, artistic. This is an example of a business that's close by to my house. It is a restaurant and a series of shops, as well as a small pub where a lot of the neighborhood people gather. And it is warm and welcoming, and there are doors all the way around the building, and it's set around a small patio area for eating. So each of these doors is a great example of being unique and yet cohesive and using complementary color schemes to create a lot of vibrancy.
You and me, we meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth.
This one is a fantastic example of using a mid-century modern technique in the brickwork to create a breezeway. And then this final example is a great use of vibrant color to define a doorway coming right in off of a street. The next few examples are ones of a neutral color scheme or a monochromatic color scheme. And I'm here to tell you that neither of those has to mean beige and boring. In fact, you can use a lot of texture, you can use pops of color to define spaces. This first example is a great example of a monochromatic color scheme that has used this deep, vivid blue to define doorways and entryways. And the example of using the carriage lights on the other side creates symmetry. You'll see that repeated in several of the examples. But for the most part, these are examples of homes that are using plants to define space. They use bricks, but most importantly, they use color to create a really calm, inviting, and warm space. But it's not beige and boring.
You and me, we meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell. You and me were meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. You and me, meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.
Analogous colors are colors that sit next to each other on the color wheel. So, for example, green, yellow, gold, maybe an ochre or an orange or umber, those sit next to each other. Complementary color schemes are opposites. Analogous color schemes are ones that sit next to each other. By their very nature, they tend to work well together because they share similar light value. So this color scheme that you're looking at is a beautiful, warm, buttery gold, a soft but vivid leaf green, and then the umber of the doors. And I love how they tied in their landscaping to create this nice, warm, very contiguous color scheme that's still welcoming and vibrant.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see.
Sometimes there's nothing like the drama and the classic example of black and white. Whether you pair it with a color or with something grounded like an earth color or a brown, black and white is always going to be a classic, clean, and contemporary look.
Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth.
Complementary color scheme is the most active, dynamic, and easiest to get wrong. Complementary colors sit across from each other on the color wheel. So, for instance, red and green. Usually, it is a primary color and a tertiary color. So, for instance, red is the primary, green is the tertiary of blue and yellow. So it's easy to make a mistake in using this color scheme simply because it's it can become very clashy, it can become very Christmassy, it can become very clown car. So using this color scheme can either be dynamic and bold and creative or a hot mess. None of these are a hot mess. If you love complementary color schemes, then my recommendation as a designer is to go softer. So turquoise and brown, That's probably one of the most classic and the easiest to work with, and it's hard to make a mistake. This example that we're looking at is of a beautiful rust brown. It's got a lot of orange and pink in it, and they paired it with a deep, deep amethyst purple. You cannot go wrong with something like that. You're not having two extremely strident colors. Instead, you pick a color that you love, like purple, and then you pair it with something that it's complementary to, but softer. So these first examples will be of a softer complementary scheme, and they'll get more and more vivid as we get to the end of the video.
Need to go and take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell. You and me were meant to be.